In 1880, a long-suffering Englishman came to Australia, and he looked across Australia and he said, not to talk about cricket and not to understand cricket is a social crime. Turns out, I took some Americans to Australia a year ago and they discovered exactly the same thing is true. If they went, how can you possibly follow cricket? It takes 5 days. People thumped them and refused to buy them beer. So, which is a much bigger problem. Big penalty. No one buys your beer at a bad moment. Sport, it turns out, big thing. It's a huge money maker. It is a huge driver of new technology adoption. 40% of Americans, when asked why they upgraded to HD in this country, gave the answer that sport looked better on it. Might not have been you in this room, but that's 40% of households that have upgraded their televisions. We know sport has been a driver of television upgrades around the world at various points in time. It has driven new forms of technology production in video capture, in being able to deal with multiple streams of content. For reasons that really elude me, it has to be said, it's also now one of the driving places of 3D. Who knew you needed to see golf in 3D? Who knew that made it better? It doesn't. I recently managed to wangle my way into a Burberry 3D fashion show. They broadcast their fashion catwalk in 3D to 5 sites around the world. One could make scurrilous jokes about the fact that models don't actually get into 3D in 3D. And God love them, they didn't. But still, it is the case that sport's hugely consuming. If you look at the amount of time spent online, either through fantasy sports or pursuing sports, if you look at the amount of time of anyone's television viewing in any high sports cycle, I can guarantee you this is something people are doing. Yet there are less than 40 papers written over the last 20 years in HCI and UBCOM about sport. And most of them are written about things that aren't really sport. They're written about roller coasters. We say thank you to the English. They're written about going round and round and round in motocross in Scandinavia. There's one written about going to stadium games, and that's it. There's some lovely Canadians, again, lovely Canadians, writing about augmenting hockey games, but they're not in our community. They're writing about actually how you put sensors on pucks. Turns out it doesn't work well. Those of you who've seen hockey might understand why. And that's it. But here is this critical domain of human activity that schedules time and space, and we're not writing about it. So go forward. Manners and etiquette. I love this sign. The sign was in a lobby of a church in Korea. It loosely translates to, it would be a blessing if you turned your cell phone off. It speaks to a whole other space that we could also profitably study about people's changing relationships to where technology can and can't be used.